Good old Starbucks is cutting back on promotional offers through its mobile app to get customers to pay full price for drinks. So it's part of the new CEO's strategy to
no contract,
no coffee.
Tonight, outrage brewing at nearly 75 Starbucks across the country. Baristas are walking out.
We are currently on an unfair labor practice strike and have walked out here today because of the newly implemented dress code that is now being enforced upon our stores illegally.
Every morning, millions of people clutch their warm Starbucks cup like a ritual. It's comforting, familiar. The aroma, the logo, the first sip, it all feels like home. But what if that daily habit isn't as harmless as it seems? What if that $6 latte is hiding something you were never meant to see? Because behind that friendly green mermaid is a long list of ingredients, strategies, and practices Starbucks would never put on their menu. You might think you're just getting coffee, but what you're really buying is a carefully designed experience, engineered to hook your brain, stretch your wallet, and leave behind far more than just a caffeine buzz. Let's start with one number. A grande pumpkin spice latte contains 50 grams of sugar. That's more than a can of Coca-Cola and almost double the recommended daily limit. Yet it's sold as cozy and nostalgic, not as a health risk. And that's just the beginning. Because from the way drinks are designed to create cravings, to the ethical sourcing claims that don't always hold up, to what former employees are revealing about the pressure behind the counter, Starbucks may not be the feel-good brand you think it is. This isn't about hating on coffee. It's about pulling back the curtain on one of the most influential brands on the planet, a brand that shaped how we think about food, luxury, and convenience. But once you see what's really going on behind the scenes, you might start asking different questions before placing your next order. So grab your cup and don't look away, because by the end of this video, you'll learn what one barista called legalized addiction and why Starbucks is betting on the fact that you'll keep coming back anyway. It starts innocent enough. You walk into Starbucks, glance up at the menu, and your eyes land on something that sounds light and refreshing. Maybe a vanilla sweet cream cold brew, a caramel macchiato, or one of those bright-colored refreshers. It doesn't feel like a dessert. It feels like a drink, a pick-me-up, maybe even a healthy option. But here's the truth. Many of Starbucks' most popular drinks contain more sugar than a slice of chocolate cake. Let's take that grande caramel macchiato. Sounds fancy, feels light, but it packs 33 grams of sugar, nearly as much as a full-size Snickers bar. A vanilla bean frappuccino? Try 59 grams of sugar. That's almost 15 teaspoons. And if you grab a venti, you might as well be drinking a milkshake with a shot of espresso. Even their matcha green tea latte, which many people assume is clean or natural, has 32 grams of sugar in a grande. That's over your entire daily recommended limit in a single cup. And we haven't even talked about seasonal drinks yet. The worst part? Most customers don't even realize it. Starbucks uses terms like light, skinny, and refreshing to soften the blow. But here's the trick. They use multiple syrups, flavored sauces, sweetened milk, and whipped toppings that don't always get listed on the front-facing menu. And when you ask baristas how much sugar's in a drink, most don't know. Some will even tell you, it's not that bad, just to move the line along. So while you think you're sipping something light, you're actually chugging the liquid equivalent of 2 donuts before 9 a.m. And the scariest part? That spike in sugar creates a cycle of cravings, energy crashes, and more purchases, which is exactly what Starbucks wants. But the illusion doesn't stop at the counter, because next we're diving into Starbucks' global, ethically sourced image and what's really hiding in their coffee supply chain. Starbucks proudly boasts that its coffee is 99% ethically sourced. It sounds impressive, reassuring even. You sip your latte with a sense of ease, maybe even pride, thinking you're supporting sustainable farms and fair wages across the globe. But behind that comforting label lies a reality that's far more complicated and, in some cases, deeply unsettling. The truth is, ethically sourced doesn't always mean what you think it does. Starbucks relies heavily on a certification program called CAFE practices, which it helped design and still oversees. That's right, the same company being monitored is partly in charge of the rules, and while the program sets standards for things like pay, working conditions, and environmental impact, investigations by outlets like The Guardian and PBS have revealed major blind spots. In some regions, child labor and abusive practices have slipped through the cracks. One 2020 investigation uncovered farms in Guatemala supplying Starbucks that were using underpaid workers, including children, sometimes for 40-plus hours a week, in brutal conditions. Starbucks responded by saying those farms were not approved suppliers. But here's the problem. Their beans still ended up in Starbucks coffee. That's not a one-time mistake. That's a system built on plausible deniability. And this is happening while Starbucks launches expensive ad campaigns showing smiling farmers and lush green fields. It's the perfect feel-good brand story. But for the actual workers, it's often a story of poverty, exploitation, and zero protection. Many farmers still live below the poverty line, while Starbucks enjoys billions in annual profit and a reputation for doing good. So the next time you see that ethically sourced label, ask yourself, who's really benefiting from that claim? Because if you think the ethical shortcuts stop at the farm, wait until you hear what's happening to the people working right behind the counter. Baristas under pressure, behind smiles they're forced to fake. When you walk into Starbucks and hear a cheerful, "Welcome in," it feels personal, warm, human. But behind that friendly voice, there's often someone who's exhausted, underpaid, and working in a pressure cooker of unrealistic expectations. For all of Starbucks' branding around community, care, and corporate responsibility, many of the people making your drink are being pushed to the edge. Every single shift. Former and current baristas across the country have come forward to share a different side of the story. Long hours, non-stop multitasking, no time for breaks. Some employees have even reported having to choose between skipping the restroom or getting written up for taking too long away from the register, all while being expected to hit aggressive sales goals, move a line of impatient customers, and smile through every second of it. One barista described the job as emotional labor on steroids. Another said they were trained to apologize first, even if a customer is screaming in your face. And behind the scenes, schedules can be chaotic and unpredictable. Many employees are given opening shifts, closing the store at night, and then returning just hours later to open it the next morning. This leads to sleep deprivation, burnout, and mental health issues that Starbucks rarely acknowledges. Even worse, employees who try to speak up are often ignored or punished. Starbucks has faced a wave of unionization efforts from workers demanding better conditions, predictable hours, and fair pay. In response, the company has been accused of retaliating by cutting shifts, closing stores, or finding excuses to terminate vocal employees. That's not just bad management. That's corporate-level damage control disguised as policy. So while the drinks keep flowing and the playlists stay upbeat, the reality behind the counter is often toxic, draining, and dangerously overlooked. But here's the twist. While employees are burning out, Starbucks is rolling out secret menus, limited-time drinks, and seasonal hype machines that intentionally target your brain's reward center. Because next, we're exposing how Starbucks uses your psychology to keep you hooked. At first glance, it all seems fun. TikTok-famous frappuccinos, Instagrammable cold foams, secret menu drinks whispered between friends or passed around in social media comment threads. It feels exclusive, like you're in on something special. But this isn't just a creative trend. It's a calculated corporate-backed strategy designed to hijack your brain's reward system. And Starbucks knows exactly what they're doing. The secret menu isn't official. Starbucks doesn't print it or list it on their app, but they also don't stop it because it works. It creates buzz, drives custom orders, and makes customers feel like insiders. But more importantly, it turns ordering coffee into an event. Every drink becomes a limited edition experience. You're not just buying a latte, you're building a moment. And Starbucks profits from every second of that emotional high. Now add in their limited time offers, seasonal drinks like the Pumpkin Spice Latte or the Unicorn Frappuccino. These are masterclasses in manufactured urgency. The idea is simple. If it's not always available, it becomes more desirable. You rush to get it before it's gone, even if you don't really love it. Starbucks has created a kind of beverage-based FOMO. They don't need to convince you their drink is good. They just need to convince you it won't be around much longer. And what's wild is that it works. People line up, they post it, they talk about it, and then they come back again, waiting for the next hype wave. This isn't caffeine culture, it's habit building disguised as fun. But we're not done yet, because while the hype machine keeps spinning, Starbucks is also making massive promises about sustainability and eco-friendliness. The question is, are they actually delivering on any of it? Spoiler, not even close. Next, we dive into Starbucks' dirty secret behind its green branding and the mountains of plastic waste it quietly creates every day. Starbucks wants you to believe it's saving the planet, one cup at a time. Green logos, reusable tumblers, ethically sourced beans, and cozy cafes that feel like sanctuaries for the eco-conscious. They've pledged to cut waste, reduce carbon emissions, and eliminate single-use plastics. But here's the cold truth. Starbucks is one of the largest contributors to coffee-related plastic waste on the planet. And despite all their promises, progress has been painfully slow, and in some places, completely stalled. Let's start with cups. Every year, Starbucks hands out over 4 billion disposable cups. And while they look like paper, they're lined with plastic to prevent leaks, making them nearly impossible to recycle in most cities. That means billions of cups end up in landfills incinerators, or worse, floating in rivers and oceans. Starbucks has known this for years. They've even promised to fix it. But over a decade later, they've made barely any real progress. In 2008, Starbucks pledged to make all of its cups recyclable by 2015. That deadline came and went. Then they promised to double the use of reusable cups by 2022. They missed that one too. Instead of action, we get PR campaigns, pilot programs, and vague language about working toward solutions. Meanwhile, their stores are still handing out plastic straws, plastic lids, plastic cup tops, and doing it millions of times a day. And yes, they offer a discount if you bring your own cup. But the truth? Only about 1 to 2% of customers actually do. Why? Because the system isn't built to support it. It's built to look responsible while continuing business as usual. So while Starbucks sells sustainability as part of the brand, what they're really selling is an illusion, one that helps customers feel good while the planet pays the price. But waste isn't just about the environment. It's also about your money, because next we're pulling the lid off Starbucks loyalty program and the sneaky tactics they use to make you spend more without even realizing it. It sounds like a win-win. You buy coffee, you earn stars, and eventually you get free drinks. The Starbucks Rewards program feels generous, even addicting. A little gold star every time you swipe your app. But behind the cheerful notifications and sleek design is a system built to quietly stretch your spending habits while making you believe you're getting more than you actually are. Here's how it works. Every purchase earns you points, or stars. But what you might not notice is that Starbucks constantly shifts the rules on how those stars are earned and redeemed. In 2023, they made a change that infuriated regulars. The number of stars required for a free basic drink doubled overnight, while premium items were bumped up even higher. No warning, no apology, just a quiet update buried in the fine print. Even worse, stars expire after 6 months, pushing customers to rush and redeem or, more often, lose their points entirely. It's not just inconvenient, it's calculated. The more often you visit to not waste your stars, the more money you end up spending chasing rewards that, by design, keep slipping just out of reach. And let's talk psychology. The app doesn't just track your points, it tracks your habits. It sends personalized nudges, double star day, or come back 3 times this week for a bonus. These aren't random perks, they're behavioral triggers, built using data to hook you into a loop. Buy, earn, repeat. You think you're playing the system, but the system is playing you. So while you feel like you're being rewarded, you're really being trained. Trained to visit more, spend more, and stay locked into a cycle of caffeine and consumerism. And what's fueling that cycle? Caffeine, yes, but not just in small doses. Because next we're breaking down the shocking amount of caffeine hiding in some Starbucks drinks and how it may be doing far more damage than you realize. You order a venti iced coffee, it tastes smooth, gives you a boost, and helps you power through the day. But what most customers don't realize is that some Starbucks drinks deliver more caffeine than a Red Bull and a Monster Energy drink combined. And you're drinking it in a single sitting, often before 10 a.m. Let's break it down. A standard venti cold brew contains 360 milligrams of caffeine. That's almost 4 shots of espresso. Order a venti blonde roast drip coffee, you're pushing 475 milligrams. The FDA's recommended daily limit, 400 milligrams, and that's for a healthy adult. Go over that line, and the side effects kick in fast. Jitters, anxiety, insomnia, digestive issues, elevated heart rate, and even panic attacks. And yet Starbucks rarely talks about this. Why would they? Because caffeine is the hook. It's legal, it's addictive, and it's profitable. The more your body adjusts to high doses, the more frequently you'll need a fix to feel normal. That means more trips through the drive-thru, more venti orders, and more profit with every swipe. It's a biological cycle, one Starbucks is happy to fuel as long as you don't ask too many questions. Even more concerning, some customers are combining high caffeine drinks with massive sugar loads. A grande Java chip frappuccino with extra espresso? That's a bomb of caffeine and sugar in one go, and it hits your system hard. The crash that follows? Starbucks has a fix for that too. Just come back and order another drink. But this isn't just about energy. It's about dependency. It's about a brand that's figured out how to turn fatigue into revenue and calls it self-care. And while all of this is happening, there's still something else they're not talking about. The mystery ingredients hiding in your cup. Because next we reveal what's really in that drink, why some ingredients are banned overseas, and why Starbucks still serves them here. You see whipped cream, caramel drizzle, maybe a touch of foam. What you don't see, a list of hidden ingredients most Starbucks customers have never even heard of, let alone questioned. While the brand sells itself as clean, responsible, and premium, many of their drinks are loaded with preservatives, artificial flavors, thickeners, stabilizers, and dyes that can quietly affect your health over time, and they rarely show up on the in-store menu. Take their syrups, for example. Many are made with potassium sorbate, a chemical preservative linked in some studies to allergic reactions and migraines. Others contain propylene glycol, a synthetic compound also used in antifreeze. It's FDA approved in small doses, but should it be in your coffee? Then there's carrageenan, a thickener used in Starbucks whipped cream and some dairy products. Research has suggested it may contribute to gut inflammation in sensitive individuals. Still sound appetizing? But the most unsettling part, Starbucks uses different ingredients in different countries based on how strict the local food regulations are. In the US, many drinks contain artificial colors like red 40 or yellow 5, linked to hyperactivity in children. But in the UK and parts of the EU, those same dyes are banned or require warning labels. Starbucks quietly reformulates drinks for those regions to avoid legal trouble, while continuing to serve the chemical versions in the US. Why? Because they can. Because the US has looser labeling laws, because most customers don't ask, and because transparency would mean showing you just how far from natural your go-to order really is. So while your drink may look like a treat, it could be carrying a cocktail of additives you never agreed to consume, and Starbucks won't tell you unless you dig deep to find out yourself. And if all of this has left you questioning what you're really sipping each morning, you're not alone, because there's one thing you can do right now to help bring more of these secrets to light. If this video made you pause, even for a second, about what's really in your daily coffee routine, we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell us which fact hits you the hardest. Was it the sugar overload, the double standard in ingredients, the pressure on workers, or something else entirely? Your voice matters. And when we all start asking better questions, companies have a harder time giving lazy answers. And if you want to keep pulling back the curtain on brands like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're diving into more stories just like this, stories that big corporations hope you'll never hear. So go ahead, comment, subscribe, and stay curious. The truth is just getting started. So what does it all add up to? A brand that sells warmth, comfort, and community, but behind the counter, behind the cup, and behind the image, Starbucks is something else entirely. It's a company that loads its drinks with sugar, pushes addictive caffeine levels, promotes loyalty programs designed to stretch your wallet, and wraps it all in marketing that feels personal and wholesome. But when you peel back the label, what you're left with is a corporation that's mastered the art of presentation and blurred the line between care and control. They promise sustainability, but leave behind mountains of plastic. They talk about ethics while turning a blind eye to labor abuses, on the farms and in their own stores. And they create a sense of daily ritual, not because it's good for you, but because it's good for their bottom line. But now you've seen what they don't want you to know. And the takeaway isn't to never drink coffee again. It's to think critically about the brands we trust, the routines we normalize, and the choices we repeat without question. Because once you start looking closer, you realize that not everything wrapped in foam and topped with caramel drizzle is as sweet as it seems. Stay curious, stay informed, and remember, just because it feels good doesn't mean it's good for you.